Oh, welcome, welcome, Tanya. This is so exciting. It is on the dot 11:30, which means we are here at the Academy X Exceptional Student Series. It's been a hot minute, hasn't it, friends, since we've been in. But we've got so much great stuff happening today. So kia ora and welcome to the Exceptional Student Series. Today, we're joined by Tania Rowland. We're going to talk about collective care and leadership in action. So full disclosure, I'm a Rowland too. I'm happy to say we're both spelling it correctly. No relation, but it does make this probably the most efficiently named conversation I've ever hosted. So if anything goes brilliantly, we'll credit it all to the Rowland effect. If anything goes sideways, we're going to blame autocorrect. So Tania came to the Master of Technological Futures with this amazingly clear question. Why do New Zealand leaders hesitate to act on innovation and sustainability? This curiosity took her from New Zealand to Denmark to see how trust, long-term thinking, and shared responsibility get built into everyday decisions. So over the next half hour, the world's fastest half hour, as we all know, we'll explore what drew Tania back into study, how she framed this research, the moments that shifted her view on leadership, and the practical steps any team can start maybe this week. Bring your questions. This is a space for honest conversation and useful takeaways. Tania is an expert in this space, a long-term thinker and amazing viewer of human life. Tania, I just love that you're here. You are exceptional.
Thank you, Karen.
It's so much fun to have you on.
I'm
Um,
I'm a bit worried for both of us, but we'll be fine.
we'll be fine.
We'll be
We'll be
fine.
fine. It's a beautiful day. We've got good light. All of our faces are looking like this.
Yeah, let's get the tape on. Talking about that. No pressure on camera.
No pressure on camera, but and in general for all of us. Um, Look, before this research even began, what drew you back into the study and really why Academy X and the Masters of Technological Futures?
Mm. So there's a few things to answer there. There's a number of elements. So let's start with what drew me back into study. Um, so I think for a lot of us during COVID, we used the opportunity to upskill. I know I did. I did a number of different learning programs, a lot of them global, some of them certified, some of them not. And I think there was this maybe recognition or desire it felt like it was time to do something that was a bit more formal. So I was looking at, the classic, do you do the MBA? What sort of organization? Not just, for me, I didn't want something that just looked good on paper and just didn't, but didn't improve how I showed up in the world and how we were looking at upskilling. So I actually started with Academy X doing a postgraduate and did the what was it, human potential in the digital economy. So I started there. And I think what drew me to Academy EX was I'm an online stalker. I'm always looking at what's happening. And what resonated for me with Academy EX was, yes, I was going to get a formal qualification, but it felt very rooted or grounded in what was happening today. And it felt very grounded in still rigor and academic frameworks, which was important. But also, that what I was liking was that Academy X was challenging how we learn, but also connecting you with people who were on the ground doing it today. So that combination of all of that really appealed to me.
It's interesting that you started at COVID. What was it about that COVID period that said that you really wanted to start upskilling? What was that connection?
Well, I think I have a problem that I'm a constant learner and I'm always learning something, whether I'm paying for it or not.
I
And I
know.
just
I'd rather
feel
be on
like
meth.
yeah, and I think I recognize that if I have this problem, how do I channel it in a more constructive way? So COVID, I think given my age and how I've been evolving my career, I learned to be a team coach during that time. I joined the reinvention community. I learned to improve my design thinking by learning design sprints. I'd been doing these components, and I think I just felt like this more. How did I take all these things that I was loving and put it through a filter that built some rigor? And so that to me is when you think about you recognize you want something that meets the world where it is today. It was a long time since I did my degree. We won't years on it. So I think there was just this recognition that actually you can and you should do something. And for me, doing it more formally just felt like the right time now to do that in a more structured environment. So COVID, I felt like there was a lot of things we didn't love, but it gave us this gift to step back. It gave us time to do other things. It gave us time to explore. So it was, I can't, I was probably doing the postgraduate as we came out of that period, but that's what I came out of it going, look, this shouldn't stop. And how do I make that learning I've been doing? How do I focus it better was probably that
Mm.
question, and answer some questions I was having about the world.
Oh, really? What sort of questions were you having about the world? Sorry.
Well,
Now I'm curious.
yeah, I think we all were to some degree. We were questioning how New Zealand approached COVID. We were questioning, well, we can work from home, so why do we have to go back to the office? So I think, a lot of the world we've been in, it shook it up in a negative way and a positive way. And I think because if I filter through, for me, an anchor was joining a global reinvention community and getting certified in that space. Very much started this frame of actually what we've been doing. We've got to release super fast if we're going to evolve really well for today. And so I think that community got me really thinking about the world and actually thinking I shouldn't leave it to others to do that thinking. And
Yeah.
so I think the postgraduate, because I came out of a technology, environment, but I'm always leading with people, felt like this really good way that, because I was asking this question, we need big corporates and we need them to do a great job, but they're not doing such a good job. So my
Mhm.
postgraduate was this opportunity to really put that through an academic discipline of, well, let's make sense of that question. How should leaders be different? How should organizations be different for a future that we're sort of getting a glimpse of at that time? But we know it not just needs to be better for organizations, but it's at a societal level. So there was probably lots of things we were all starting to question about all of that stuff.
100%. Do you find with the AI shift and the paradigm, like that fundamental paradigm shift that AI is bringing, do you find ourselves, I see sort of similarities between 2020 and today in terms of this idea of re-questioning and engaging in what used to be and how it should be moving forward. Do you find any similarities now that we're having
Uh,
this conversation?
I think you're exactly right, and I think for all of us, our brains are trying to process what is shifting and what might be different. We're not going to have all the answers, but I think we're all starting to get to more the frame, which is um, a lot of those constructs are actually, they need to be fully disrupted, and the only way we're going to move to we all are sort of referencing a better future is actually we've got to be okay with letting those frames or references actually be quite disruptive. We've got to proactively disrupt them. So if we look at AI and that question of, we started probably with, you won't lose your job because of AI, but you'll lose your job to someone using AI really well. It's still a true statement. But now that we're starting to realize AI might be a team member and AI will be a partner in the workplace. So therefore, maybe, or if we don't have a job, because the number of jobs that have been lost globally and the number of jobs not being advertised it's a scary matching up. So then you've got to say, so if having a job is no longer going to be, it's going to, we can't expect one job and it's going to be harder to get that. And maybe organizations can't be relied on to give us that. What's the role for governments and society to say, well, nobody should be left hanging on the outside?
Mhm.
So you sort of got to go, well, at a democracy and an economy level, we shouldn't say, well, we just put you on benefit. That's not the answer anymore. So my research didn't look at some of that, but that's, I think, opened my brain to starting to go those frameworks. We've really got to go back to a blank page. And I think that's what we're not grappling with maybe the solution. I think we're grappling with letting go with what we've known and
Mm.
being comfortable with saying, what therefore would it look like if we wanted everybody to 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 uh, to not just survive this but still do well and come reimagine the future for all of us. It's quite different.
I think that it's interesting that the constant through this is a reimagining and a reinvention. That the second we sort of have this um, the second we sort of say, okay, it's like this, the world and the universe and technology and disruption and the just sheer bananasness of the world around us is like, oh, hold our beer, we're going to do this now, you know. And I think it really interesting that your whole work around innovation and sustainability kind of was watered and grown from a state of reinvention, because with COVID, the we talk about people, profit, and a planet, right?
Yes.
And then COVID added a fourth P, which was preparedness, right? So now you've got people, profit, planet, and preparedness. And then it's just like, ha ha ha, here's a whole new paradigm shift, like of any
Yeah.
kind.
Being prepared is not the goal. It's just being ready to adapt and switch and have plan A, but have plan B. And it's never one thing.
It's
Yeah.
never one thing.
No. Yeah. And you remind me, because when you've done study, new thinking comes in and you leave back what was before. So my postgraduate was on the three Ps. That's where it started, was this question of, if we were to have, people, planet, and profit, not one deprioritized over the other, how do organizations need to be formed? What's organizational design that actually is good for all three
All
going
three.
forward? And so that was my initial research around that, looking at, one, why are we, what, the trend is we are slow to adapt. And I love that image of, people in an office and COVID coming out to the right side and people going, no, no, we're good, we're doing digital transformation. And for someone like me who'd worked in that space, I was like, no, 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 you're behind. And then COVID hit and forced everybody to do this transformation. So I like that image, because I feel like we got this false, because we acted, we believe we transformed post COVID, and fundamentally we didn't actually change a lot. So so just going back to my postgraduate was around that. That's where I started with, how would organizations need to shift around those three Ps, and that probably raised my awareness of, I felt people and planet mattered, but I wasn't deep into the science of the planetary impact, the climate impact, and that's what really, that new learning, I suppose, made me go, um, oh, this is bigger and more scary than I imagined. We need to go super fast. So that was a really good, learning, but also then that's why my master's really doubled down on sustainability, and recognizing that leaders are the rate limiter, and leaders, from my postgraduate, it was clear we've just been too slow all the time. So I brought that into my master's to say, how do we get these leaders to act differently? And it starts with understanding, so why do they act the way they do today? Let's just understand that to start with.
I want to spark on a word you just used, which I want to make sure I heard correctly. Rate limiter.
Yeah.
Wow, what is that? So keen. What does that mean? Why does that fill me with an aha moment?
I think it links us to that phrase, like we might hear around trust. We only go as fast in our
Yeah.
organizations as the level of trust. So to me, our leaders, or I actually call them managers, because some of them pull it out. They're in management roles, but they're not acting like leaders. But we call them leaders because they're in senior roles. Our organizations only evolve as fast as, and I won't even say the vision of the leaders, it's how fast they get out of our way in pursuit of the vision to do what we need to do. So leaders are, when leaders want you to do things based on what's comfortable for them and how they see the world, then they're the rate limiter, because actually their view of that world, or their vision, which is what my research highlighted, is, New Zealand leaders are not that ambitious, and they're not, and they're quite controlling. And so that, what we know when we look at hierarchies and this and the level of things, they just, yeah, they get in the way of people doing great work.
I'm about to like flagellate myself with a wet noodle, kind of going like, oh, how, do we all need to get like duck and cover lessons? And like, like, how do I roll, help me roll from a moving car. I'm like mouthing to Ethna, I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm getting out of your way. Like, um, so why do you think, I love the pathway of like, okay, so this is how your curiosity got sparked about, you've observed through this pandemic a behavior of leadership that was sort of, I mean, it was such a moment for the entire world. Like I just came back from New York, and it was amazing to me still the number of COVID conversations that I was hearing over there, and the number of people who really were falling over themselves going, what you did in New Zealand was so amazing. Like I did anything. I'm like, oh yeah, me and Jacinda, we were like this. Like I was out there clearing the highways. And they were like, really? And I was like, no, I'm like, I'm like, "No."
We sat at home and made good
I
coffee. We
like
mastered
learned how to
coffee
make bread out
making
of beer
and
like
bread.
everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, of course, I live with an Irishman. The first thing he said is stop wasting beer. The second part, of course, was, the sheer, amount of of community that emerged out of it. Like I was hearing horror stories about like neighborhoods just sort of falling apart and et cetera, et cetera. And the point of this is you learned your curiosity as you moved through. I haven't quite figured out what my story is on this one, so I'm going to let it go.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
like,
get
I'm
there.
trying to say something, but I'm not there yet.
Yep.
But why do you think then New Zealand leaders really hesitate to act in, let's say, use sustainability and innovation, since that's
Yeah,
your.
yeah. Let's go back to that research. So I think COVID, if I just reflect on, for anyone who knows the Kinefin framework, for how we categorize problems. So when we look at COVID, that was a crisis. So because you have no playbook, the best thing you should do is
Pure
just act, and
chaos.
you don't know if the acting's right. But the sooner you act, the sooner you figure out if it's the right thing. And so I think what I'm talking about is a different frame, because we don't want to be in crises all the time. And unfortunately, my research was looking at before COVID, and then as we came through COVID, the historical way as leaders that we've been behaving. So I think the challenge we have, just to put a bit of a frame around it, is since COVID, we're in a world that's now referenced as a polycrisis world. So we have multiple crises. And so the world we came out of, where we had stability and a crisis every 10 years, maybe not, was that now we're in this world where we are actually experiencing crises very frequently. And so you shouldn't be in the just act feeling like a crisis all the time. We have to update the way we meet that world. So I just want to frame that up, that my research was about this legacy view. And I probably would say that we've not updated the playbook of leading our organizations and structuring them for the new world. So let's just say that my research, I've got thoughts on that, and I, in my reinvention community, we talk about it. My research was, why have it, as New Zealand leaders, when we look at how we rate. So if we look at from the productivity stats, so there is data that's been going since the 1970s. New Zealand has underperformed embarrassingly on our hourly output against other countries. And so we've not moved the dial, we've not made progress. We have always known, and these are general terms, but they're generally, they're on point. We, against global, particularly the European standard, when we look at technology adoption, we're between 10 and 15 years behind, and we've continued to stay on that. And then when it came to sustainability, we are behind, and so the question becomes, why is it when we know that data and we can see that and we're slow to adapt, do our leaders not change the way they work? So what drives that? So I'll just cut to the chase from the insight when I did a comparator with Denmark. And I did a comparator more to say, if I understand how our leaders are working, what does better look like? And then what's the comparison? So Denmark was chosen because they're number one on sustainability. They're very happy. We'd like to be happy. And they lead on technology adoption. So they were the inverse of us, even though they're a similar sized country, they're agricultural based, they've got a democracy. So the comparator was done initially so I could see what was different, as in what was better. So what came through, and I'm making this sound very rudimentary, was that for a frame of what drives us as leaders and at a societal level, we're very driven by what I could put into the bucket of more masculine behaviors. So not male dominated, even though we know that's in our corporate environments normal, was masculine behaviors. So we're very driven by being competitive, which means I win, you lose. So it's a zero sum game. We're more driven. So it's not absolute statements, but we're more driven by an individual winning, not the group winning. And we do know short-termism is an issue for us. And part of that is influenced by this. If I need to win and it's about me, I'm going to do that because of the short-term time frame, because I can show I've won. So that continues to reinforce short-termism. But what we also had was not a legacy thing. So we have hero leadership. So it's about me, and I'm going to put my stamp on it, and we're going to do really well while I'm here. But what I didn't see, because I deep dived into big company reports and I went back over years and I looked at the narrative and what they defined as winning, was leaders were wanting to show that they'd done a good job when they were there, and it was about what they did that was different. Not, I picked up a mantle from where the organization's been coming from and how I improved it and what I passed to the next person. They didn't have this legacy mindset of passing the baton. It was very much, we did well because of the difference I made, not what we did as a collective. And that was driven by this individualism, very competitive. But the irony is, those things which we think get us to success over the long term show that we don't make progress.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you go back to, even if we think about New Zealand's COVID response, it was team of 5 million. And it was that idea that we collectively will get to this space and safely through this together, not one person leading out and
Yeah,
saying, I
but
got you. I'm going to keep
but
everyone.
look how quickly that fell
And then
away when we
and the
weren't in crises, and
reverberation.
we went back to what we now it's well. What did I get from that? What we didn't do is, and I didn't research this, but if we think about the things that we liked from that by coming together, we didn't continue with that. We just let it go.
It was like
So
a
we didn't.
reverberation. It just
Yeah,
died.
we went straight back to, well, yeah, this, and obviously I don't want to discount that people had really tough times. I'm not discounting that. I'm talking at a systems level where you might say that mindset and that belief we didn't pick up and continue to make sure nobody got left behind and that we continue to do well for everybody. Then yeah, we've then become that divide, and we won't get into that because there's lots of reasons for that. But I think I didn't anticipate that my research about big corporate leaders would actually really mirror a societal that became really the mirror to us as a culture and a society, which is influenced by governments and how they work. So there was a real pattern at government level, but they're a reflection of the people in our society.
Hofstede has this as a core cultural competency. He talks about
Mm.
masculine and feminine cultures, which is, I think, what you're sort of referring to.
I
And,
researched that. I pulled stuff from that as well. I looked at the
oh,
comparator. Yeah.
anybody
Yeah.
else impressed that I pulled that one out for all y'all?
I'm impressed. There's somebody in the community here. This is the great thing about Academy X, where as we're sharing what we're doing, somebody said to me about that, and I went, oh. And fortunately, I picked the thread up and looked into it and went, oh my gosh, this is a really helpful frame, because if you're not familiar with it, you can put in the different countries. You can then see the different parameters based on operating models. So is it top-down leadership? Do you like certainty? That's one thing that came through for New Zealand. Culture, we don't do well with uncertainty. And how can you go after an ambitious goal where it's not clear yet what we'll do if you need certainty? So we want to control things. So that was a great tool, because I put in Australia, I put in the UK, I put in not just Denmark. So I wanted to see the nuances that help me understand, so how was New Zealand different?
Yeah.
Another thing in this community that someone said to me on my research through the sustainability lens, which was just because there's always threads, there's never just one data point, was that their research, and they and I just won't say the all because I don't know if what they shared I can share from the public domain. It's not highly sensitive, but their research was, the question was, how do New Zealanders think about nature, or how do we think about its role? And what they said was, we see nature there for us. It's there to serve us. It's there for sports for us. It's there for us, not we are one with nature. And that also brings us back to the individualism and the controlling thing, and something's there to serve us. And that took me on this really interesting research around nature connectedness, which is that the more connected you feel and one with nature, the more likely you want to protect it. And so my research looking at how in Denmark they talk about nature and see nature as a very different narrative. They feel a response. They have these rules. You don't leave rubbish in nature, and they all embrace that. That's not just a slogan in a country campaign. They all take that seriously because they care about nature and they know it has a ripple effect to them. So their narrative around nature, even though they go hiking like us and they use it, its use case is similar to us. The way they think about it's very different to how we think about it.
Yeah. I almost lost my mind when I watched someone throw something out their car window this morning on the way to work, which
I see that. Oh,
All the
yeah,
time. Yeah.
all
It
the
was not
time.
the first time this week, I have to say. And then I look at I'm like, why don't you all just treat your own car like a garbage pit like I do with all the crap on the floors?
Keep it inside.
Yeah, keep it in. Nobody wants to see this. Look, we're coming. See, I told you world's fastest
Yes.
half hour. If there are questions, now is a good time to get it out. When you think about this project and it's, it's been it's been over what, about a year now since you've graduated. And when you think about your own approach to leadership and the kind of work that you love to do and what you're doing next, what are some of the things that you have applied in your process, in your planning, in your work? What are some of the things that you've really applied to your leadership to make sure that you stay connected to innovation and sustainability?
Yeah. Yeah. So, oh, wow. So obviously I went to Denmark, and that was great, because that was part of,
All
let's
right, we're
see if
all
what
off to
I've read
Denmark.
about,
Pack your quota.
you know, let's and that was great to just see in reality how it comes to life and what you experience. So that takes longer than a few minutes. I'm really passionate. I went initially to the Reinvention Summit in Ireland, which gave me a good way to go to that, and then to Denmark. So I come back from that trip really recognizing that we have to help leaders to not just to reinvent in a moment like a thing, but to understand the science of reinvention and to lean into uncertainty. So we're building a community here of those who are also working with leaders, so doubling down on that. But I think at a personal level, reinvention, or because this comes round to how do we change our operating model, and how do we lean into uncertainty, and so reinvention is a great way to do that, is going on that journey yourself, because it's a personal thing too. So I'll just give a really simple example. Is I'm a directive leader. I know that. I've been in leadership roles. It's easier if I know what I want. I know I fall into the trap. So I can remember recently really having a conversation with myself when I was about to brief in some people, where I reminded myself of my lessons and just said, just tell them where we want to be, what's the outcome, and actually tell them nothing more. Just let them figure it out, because that's what they do a lot in Denmark workplaces. That's part of their culture. Really trust your people, give them the rope, get out of their way. And it was just a really nice reminder of, actually, it felt even uncomfortable for me to give them no other parameters. I thought, don't even guide them, just say, look, you're the experts, this is what I'm looking for. And actually, I didn't need to do anything else, because I did an amazing job. So I think when we think innovation and sustainability, that's how do we enable people at a sustainability level. We all have to do our individual thing, but wherever we can, we have to hold our leaders to account, that the way we're doing it today, even if we let people know we're behind. I'm amazed by how many people I speak to still who work in sustainability. It's still not yet the narrative to recognize we're behind, because it feels uncomfortable in a corporation to call people out. So if we're on the outside, and we can be asking leaders and making them realize, just because what you're doing feels like progress here, we're actually not. We are so far behind. I even just think keeping that narrative alive would be super helpful for all of us.
How does someone in a team, you know, even bring up to their leader, like, this is, let me try again. When we think about the framework of reinvention, and I apologize for hitting this at 11:58, but when we think about the framework of reinvention, what sort of signals should we kind of keep an eyeball out for as a team, or we can remind our leaders about if we're falling off the wagon, so to speak?
I'm just going to call it. I think it depends on your organization whether it's a safe place to do that. So you obviously you make your judgment call on the psychological safety of your work environment, because that's a reality of a lot of our command and control environments. But I think what I would say is, um, having a purpose that's bigger than today in your product really does drive better outcomes. It's proven by science. So I think asking your leader to paint the picture of that purpose, or helping craft that as a group, really puts fuel on the fire. That's good fuel. So think bigger and outside, and even spending time on that. And then the other thing I think is just maybe giving grace to your leader, because we've all come from a certain place. So just keep asking questions, or asking for permission to learn. Don't fail fast, learn fast. So keep nurturing that environment as a group. Set asked to be able to set ground rules, asked to, I had a thread there, a thought there. I think, even that question of, if you're asking me to do this, how much agency do I have over it so I can really go at it? So don't keep asking that, so you get more you help shape the environment that you want, but keep doing that. But I think purpose, that what came through in my research was a purpose bigger than us. It creates momentum for change. That's what I was going to say. One final thing, we need to shift how we see changing. So start to try to help your team see it as an opportunity, not a threat. Like, see change. The faster we start to all change, even the smallest things, builds our reinvention muscle.
I think that's just, that's our mic drop moment. So, Namihi Nui, Tanya, I cannot thank you enough. And thank you to all the 10 of you who joined us today. That was really
Yes.
exciting. I think let's reiterate this one more time, which is, fundamentally inside of a world of reinvention, a purpose bigger than us creates momentum for change. Purpose bigger than us creates momentum for change. I think that idea around how you can keep applying your insights for innovation and sustainability, going back to that purpose bigger than us. And I think that's the one small change that you can take into your week next week is, what's the purpose bigger than us that we're trying to connect to here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I
Thanks,
thank you
Karen.
once. I thank you twice. I thank you three times for your ancestors. My goodness, what a great and fast conversation. I think we can tap this up to the Rowlands, but I think also to your extensive experience and knowledge. And man, if there was ever an idea not only to go outside of your own thinking, it's also just go outside. So we're coming into warmer weather. Go have a breath, take a deep suck full of air, and realize how lucky we all are to be in this just amazing part of the world and the responsibility we have to it, huh?
And this planet, it's not just our part of the world. This planet, the gift she gives us every day.
Gift she gives us every day.
Yeah.
Tanya, you
Thank you,
are
Karen.
exceptional. Thank you so much. And I hope we get you back on again for your next big thing when you reinvent yourself again.
And next time I'll speak slower.
Let's not make promises we can't keep.
No, true. I'm with you. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you so much, everyone. Kakitiano, have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.